They're going to come right there where you're at, stop, and then go out that way. I don't straight face, march there. Right when you get in this area, that's fine. March out that way. We don't lie. I don't lie. Alright, what are we getting video of? We're going to Megan. 3 people. And Kayla, full screen that rabbit. This is the public view. Do you want the preview view? It's only the light for the public. We're good. We're fine. We are cold. That's full on for everyone to watch. Yep. That's live. Everyone who's watching right now, that's us. I'm going to sit down and watch this. Okay. Alright. So we need shots of what the people, Davis, and the drum line, right? That's it? I think so. Alright.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Here.
Welcome to 4th Street Bar and Grill. More importantly, welcome to Bramley Week. As you guys know, there's a big football game coming up on Friday, and I hope everyone comes out, cheers on the Rams. It's very, very exciting. Before tonight's festivities begin, I want to introduce our athletic director, Doug Peters. He wants to go over a few things about some of the expectations tonight and the general flow of the entire thing. We do want to thank Old School, the game broadcast. They're coming out tonight with Roger Franklin and Williams, and he's going to be doing the actual interviews. So let's all give Roger a big round of applause. We will have a pre-broadcast ceremony. That'll begin as soon as Mr. Peters is done talking.
All right, I want to thank everyone for coming out. This is really a super special week, as we all know. But we thought we would do something we haven't done in a while and have a pepper rally. And I want to thank Roger Williams for being here as well. Roger and I go back over 30 years. And just want to thank everybody for coming out. We've got a lot of special groups here today that are going to perform. We have special guests going to be on the radio show and so forth. We are going to have commercial breaks, you might see me sometimes over here being the stagehand, if you will. We want to be classy. This is going to be heard all the way to Altamont Springs, right? So we want to make sure that they hear us and they see us on Facebook and everywhere else in the media. But so you might see me doing this. You might see me doing this, because when we start the radio show, we do want to hear the special guests that we have, and we have a number of great special guests here tonight. So I want to thank all the auxiliary groups that came out one more night during the week, our faculty, our parents, our players. Thank you so much for making this a special event. Coach Perry, we're behind you and your team. Can't wait to have this happen. We'll be hearing from Coach Perry and his players in just a little bit. With that, we got a couple more minutes. What we are going to do, 9/11, as you all know, was yesterday, and something we should never ever forget. Our ROTC is going to be here tonight. We're going to start the event just like we would start a football game. You're going to recognize a lot of the things that we do during a football game are going to be done here tonight. But we're going to start with our national anthem and the Navy ROTC. All right?
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please stand for the presentation of the colors and the playing of our national anthem. The colors are being presented tonight by the Lake Erie NJROTC, commanded tonight by Cadet Caduto.
get started, real quick, we have two major sponsors tonight. You'll hear it throughout the evening. Yes. We have two sponsors this evening's event, and it's Rob Stevenson with IOA Insurance. I want to thank Rob. He's been great through Lake Marion High School. Rob's out there visiting a lot around the hall. If you need health insurance and you need a good cost on it, make sure you see Rob. You'll hear this throughout the night. Also, I want to thank Michelle Tomrose, 4th Street Grill, Mike Good, the owner. I want to thank them for letting us have this here tonight. She'll be out. We're going to introduce Michelle a little bit later on. With that, we are ready to get started. We are going a little bit by script, so bear with us, but here we go.
Welcome to Talking Old School with Roger Franklin Williams, and welcome to tonight's special presentation, our preview of one of the most passionate high school football rivalry games in the state of Florida. The Lake Mary Rams versus the Lake Brantley Patriots. We're coming to you from the 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary, and we're at RamNation Pep Rally. Of course, as you know, Talking Old School is your home for high school football every Thursday night on FM 96.9 The Game and AM 740 The Game. During the program tonight, we will hear from Lake Mary Athletic Director, Coach Doug Peters, from Luther Davis, the voice of the Rams, from Lake Mary Principal, Dr. Mickey Reynolds, and from Lake Mary's first principal, Mr. Don Reynolds, who of course is also Dr. Mickey Reynolds' father. We'll hear from Coach Scott Perry and from some Ram players, and also Lake Mary Mayor David Mueller will join us, and especially we will hear from Rams football players, cheerleaders, fans, and alumni. It's all at 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary tonight. Before we go to Coach Doug Peters, I want to let you know about our sponsors who are making tonight's Talking Old School presentation possible. 4th Street Bar and Grill, our host sponsor, and Mr. Rob Stevenson and IOA Insurance. Are you paying too much on your company's health insurance? Call Rob Stevenson to save 20% or more on your company's health insurance. Call 407-925-0932. That's 407-925-0932. Rob Stevenson and IOA Insurance. Now let's bring up Coach Doug Peters, and let's hear about this big pep rally tonight, Coach.
We're very excited. Thank you for coming out. We're very, very excited about the game, as we always are. We've got a 2-year in a row win streak going, and I know we're not going to let it go. We're going to win that Mayor's Cup again.
And Luther Davis, the voice of the Rams, is here. Luther, thank you for being here.
I'm really hoping tonight, Friday night you hear a bunch of touchdown Lake Mary. Also, you're going to hear a bunch of cheerleaders. Help me out. What's your Brantley cheer?
Go Rams! Beat Bradley! Go Rams! Beat Bradley! Go Rams! Beat Bradley! Go Rams! Beat Bradley!
All right. Good job.
Coach Peters and Luther, I can see the guys on the field between the lines are going to have a lot of support out there on Friday night. And Coach Peters and Luther, I'll let whoever wants to go first go. Tell us a little bit about this great rivalry, because I know from firsthand experience, I've seen some of the games. Those who follow high school football in Central Florida know about the Rams versus the Patriots. Tell us about a little bit about this rivalry.
This is, without a doubt, the biggest rivalry in Central Florida, and I think in the state of Florida, quite honestly. You can see two great communities come together. For those that don't know, in the very beginning, there was a split. Lake Mary and Lake Brantley are actually a little bit of cousin schools here. They had brothers and sisters go to each other's schools and so forth. But we've had great rivalries. It usually comes down to the last play of the game in a lot of cases, and it's very, very exciting. We're expecting a crowd of 9, 10, 11,000 people at this game.
And let me tell you what, as a teacher at Lake Mary, it's quite fascinating. It's not just Friday night that everyone gets excited about this big rivalry. It's the entire week, and even the week before that
mixed up in, there are a lot of schools that are near each other. There are a lot of rivalry games. This one has, a certain extra level of passion and excitement behind it. Go back to Coach Peters first, and then Luther. What do you attribute that aspect?
Well, I think we're both proud communities, and a lot of success in the athletic programs, a lot of success in the academics as well, and in the arts. The schools are very similar. I don't think you can go to a school in Seminole County that's not a really good school. It just so happens that Brantley was just down the street for us, like I said, a cousin school, and we have a lot of similarities, and I think that's what makes it very special.
I can answer that very shortly. It's just called bragging rights. You got to retire a year before you play again, so you want those bragging rights. These students here at Lake Mary, these athletes, they play on sports teams throughout the community. They know these other players. They go to church with these other players. They know each other in a certain way, and it's kind of nice to be able to say that, hey, I beat you this year.
Let's talk a little bit about the game last year, because it was fitting in character with the rivalry. What I mean by that is it was a very close game. Lead changes in the fourth quarter even. And Lake Brantley literally won it, I believe, on the last play of the game. I was there over at Lake Brantley. Talk about last year's game and if that has relevance to this year's game.
Yeah, I think it does. I think if you would ask Coach Perry and his team, it absolutely does. It carries over. That's one of the great things about the rivalry. It actually carries over because the games are so close. We have a different offense. We hear a lot about their offense, but our offense is very high profile. We fly in, we throw the ball a lot, very exciting to watch, and they kind of grind it out with their option offense. So two really good offenses, additionally two really good defenses, and I think that's why the games are so close.
And Luther, you're a teacher, physics teacher, and we're going to pose a physics question here later during the broadcast.
Football physics.
But as a teacher, talk about one of the great things that makes a great rivalry is not just the passion of the teams and the coaches, it's also the passions of the fan bases and the students and the teachers. And can you talk about your perspective from a teacher's perspective that rank and file students of Lake Mary High School?
Yeah. Throughout the week, there's a buzz in the class, between classes. Any college, university, sports pro team, high school, there's always a rival. And like I said earlier, this buzz is kind of captivating our school for the week because we really want to beat Brantley. Don't we want to beat Brantley, everybody?
As you're listening to Talking Old School with Roger Franklin Williams, we're coming to you from the 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary. We're highlighting the battle for the Mayor's Cup, also the Battle of the Lakes, the annual rivalry game between the Lake Mary Rams, who will be home on Friday night, versus their bitter rival, the Lake Brantley Patriots. Right now we're speaking with Athletic Director Doug Peters and with Luther Davis, the voice of the Rams. And now, Coach, we have Dr. Mickey Reynolds, principal, and her father, Don Reynolds, and I'll just let you bring them up whenever you're ready.
Okay, we're going to bring them up now. I do want to give a shout out. You can tell it's very exciting in my office right now. We have lines, and they're buying pre-sale tickets. We'll be doing so again. Isn't that right, Brazil? Quinones? I have to get that in real quick, or I don't eat tomorrow. But she does a great job for us. We have lines going out in my office. It's a really exciting time to be there. But I'm ready to bring up our special guest, Don T. Reynolds, our first principal, and Dr. Mickey Reynolds, our current.
All right. Dr. Reynolds and Mr. Don Reynolds are getting seated. I also want to recognize Mr. Mike Gaudreau, Executive Director of High Schools in Seminole County, for being here. I know that from firsthand experience, he gives tremendous support to the high school athletic departments and the coaches and the ball players throughout Seminole County. Mike, great to see you again, and thank you for being here. Of course, Dr. Gaudreau's got a long history with Lake Mary High School as well, of course. Well, Mr. Reynolds and Dr. Reynolds, great to see you tonight.
Great to see you also.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Go Rams!
Of course, as we said before, Dr. Mickey Reynolds is the current principal of Lake Mary High School. Mr. Don Reynolds was the original principal of Lake Mary High School. He opened Lake Mary High School back in the 80s, which is, we all That was a great decade, by the way. Yeah. But and you were all about history and traditional talking old school, and couldn't have a better pair of people to talk to because we have the principal of the current Lake Brantley rivalry and the principal from the original Lake Brantley rivalry. Let's start with Dr. Mickey Reynolds first, and can you talk about just the way the rivalry stands now and some of the interesting aspects and the passion on both sides?
Well, so yes, I have been around a while. I went to Lake Mary High School in the 80s, and from early on, Brantley was a huge rivalry. And just like Coach Peters said, because so many of our students had originally been zoned from Brantley, and so they went up to school with those kids. And the rivalry, I remember now. I'm dating myself, but some of you guys may have heard of Ghostbusters. And I can remember being in high school, and we had a Ghostbusters theme, and we had the shirts with the Patriots and the red circle and the line through it. It said, "I ain't afraid of no Patriots," and that was our big theme for that year. So I know it sounds cheesy, but from very early on, we were passionate fans about beating Lake Brantley.
Now let's go back in time to the very first early days of Lake Mary High School with Principal Don Reynolds, who opened Lake Mary High School. And Coach, Mr. Reynolds, was there anything about that Lake Brantley rivalry even back in the day, the early days, that maybe told you this is going to be something special?
Well, I think Bill Dorothy, a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, was principal of Lake Brantley, and I was principal of Lake Mary. So we had a very good friendship relationship, and we wanted to beat each other real bad. So it started out that way, and I think it's still going that way today. But you know, the original theme of Lake Mary High School was the beginning of the best. And we always worked towards being the best in anything we did. And I think that carried over our football teams and everything else.
Now, Dr. Reynolds, could you speak, and I spoke to Luther just a moment about this, but I think one of the great things about this particular rivalry, there's some rivalries where the teams are very passionate, the coaches are very passionate, that doesn't necessarily trickle down. Here it's obvious that the entire student body, the entire Lake Mary community is very engaged in this rivalry with Lake Brantley. Can you address that?
I would say that what's kind of neat for me coming back to Lake Mary High School is so many people that I went to school with have children now at Lake Mary High School. So the parents, we have some parents out here who remember that rivalry. Yeah, I think we have some parents. I see several. So even the parents of the students who are currently at school remember the rivalry and really kind of get into it. So it infiltrates a couple generations now, and the students at school, everybody loves a rivalry. Everybody loves the enemy, and we had a great day today at school. It was America Day. We wanted everybody dressing in red, white, blue to show that we were actually the better Patriots. And so the kids, the whole school was dressed in red, white, blue.
Well, that leads us to our first break. We're going to go into our first break in just a moment. Before we do, though, I know Coach Peters would like for us to hear from the cheerleaders.
One of the auxiliary groups
And Coach Paige Black.
we're going to be here tonight is our Lake Mary cheerleaders. Let's give them a round of applause for that. Cheerleaders introduce themselves, and then they're going to do a Lake Mary cheer for us.
Hi, I'm Arden Russo, and I am one of the captains of Lake Mary High School. You're good. And I am Marissa Monaco, and I am one of the other captains.
Sponsored by Rob Stevenson and IOA Insurance. We'll be right back from 4th Street Bar and Grill.
Okay. We have our marionettes and our band here. Let's hear Drumline. We try to emulate a little bit of the game time here, like they do on Saturday mornings. But we want to emulate a lot of the things we do that are special events and the special groups that do special things at Lake Mary High School throughout the course of the year. We had a very special event. Our girls golf team,
I just want you guys to know this picture.
were invited to go out to Arizona
Damn.
and play in the 2018 Antigua National High School Invitational. We all know that our golf teams for boys and girls are exceptional. Our girls are unbelievable. And they went out and represented Lake Mary High School as student athletes in one of the most prestigious high school golf tournament in the state. At this time, I'd like to introduce the girls golf team. I'm first going to introduce Coach Dennis Birchall, who is USA Today Coach of the Year, CLA Coach of the Year many times, FHSAA Coach of the Year 4 times. Let's give Head Coach Dennis Birchall a round of applause. He's going to introduce our team.
Y'all want water?
At the Lake Mary Nursery
Where's he getting water?
Battle for the Mayor's Cup pep rally, also known as the Battle of the Lakes. Now let's go to Coach Dennis Birchall of the Lake Mary Rams girls golf team, the national champion Lake Mary Rams girls golf team.
Well, why not? If you have to say, why can't we? Huh? How about that? Well, first of all, thanks for having us on. Real quick, we do a lot of golfing and a lot of things on campus, and maybe some of you guys don't know who these young ladies are. They work very hard, obviously, not only in the classroom, but on the golf course. So we're very proud of them. Just take a minute to introduce them. Holding the trophy from the national tournament is our senior captain, Kayla Lee. Standing next to her is our junior, also a captain, Melissa Regato. Another junior on this team, real proud of her, Gabby Pearlstein. We're proud of all of her. Next to her, sophomore, Maddie Staub. Another sophomore, Darby Nuxall. And last but not least, certainly our freshmen, both of these first two young ladies played really well out in the desert, tied for the individual championship out there. Very proud of this whole group, and these young ladies obviously are picking up the pace, and giving these other girls something to work with. First freshman here is Izzy Palat. Next to her is Caroline Tuttle. And our final player this year is Serena Lee. So we appreciate the support. And of course, we all support the football team and the entire athletic program at Lake Mary High School. So go Rams!
Congratulations to Lake Mary Rams girls golf team and Coach Birchfield. Thank you for being here tonight. Guys, you're listening to Talking Old School with Roger Franklin Williams. We're coming to you from the Battle for the Mayor's Cup preview pep rally. The battle between the Lake Mary Rams and the Lake Mary Patriots. We're at 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary. Also want to let you know our program is sponsored by our host sponsor, 4th Street Bar and Grill, and Rob Stevenson and IOA Insurance. Are you paying too much on your company's health insurance? Call Rob Stevenson to save 20% or more on your company's health insurance. Call him at 407-925-0932. That's 407-925-0932. Rob Stevenson and IOA Insurance. Now let's talk some football. Now we're going to go back to Luther, the voice of the Rams, and Luther's going to introduce a special guest for us.
All right, got some special guests. It's one of my favorite things to do from the press box on Friday nights. I'd like to welcome up to the stage number 8, Dylan Gonzalez. Number
speaking with him. It's always great to speak with Coach Perry. Also wanted to let you know we have another special guest tonight, Mr. Boyd Carnes, former principal of Lake Mary High School, currently the executive director of human resources for Seminole County. Mr. Carnes, thank you for being here. Now, Luther, let's go ahead and let's talk to Coach Perry here.
Well, let me tell you what.
Voice of the Rams.
Coach Perry is a fantastic individual for Lake Mary High School. He's done tremendous things both in the classroom for the student athletes and for the football players on the Friday nights, whether it's home games or away games. He's a remarkable fellow. He puts a lot of work and effort into everything he does here. He treats these football players as family, and I see it every day. He's out on the field. He does these tremendous things for the team, and I'm really glad he's here because he's going to share this, how he molds the team, how he raises the team, and how he gets them to win on Friday nights.
Perry.
Well, I'm getting a good group of guys to work with. That's the first thing, and the parents are supportive, the administration is supportive, and that makes my job a lot easier. These guys come ready to practice every day, and they practice hard and hit the weight room in the off season. And we've been training 9 months for this game, and like I talked to them today, this is the biggest game of their lives, and they agree. It's it's going to be a tough battle for 4 quarters, and many times this game has come down to the last play, and we've been conditioning extra and getting ready for that last play.
And Coach, before you go back, I look forward to talking to some of these guys, you know what they have to say, these Rams. But Coach, I know that one thing that makes this a special rivalry is that both you and Coach Del Fiaco played for your respective teams. You're a former Lake Mary Ram. He's a former player for the Patriots. I know it's got to be a special kind of thrill to have played in this game and then come back and be the head coach.
Yeah, it's interesting coming back from the other side of things. As a player, it's the most exciting game of the year. I remember those games vividly. My junior year, I played for Coach Peters, and we actually beat Lake Mary, or beat Lake Brantley on our field at Lake Mary. And then my senior year, we lost 14-13. And we missed an extra point. They had 2 long runs. We missed 2 field goals. And that's haunting, right? And I'm talking to the guys every day about a certain game, 2014. I'm talking to these guys how we had the greatest comeback in Lake Mary history, down 17 points in the 4th quarter, and we just marched down the field several times, got a few key stops, and one of the most exciting games I've ever been a part of, and probably one of the most exciting games in this rivalry. So, we're passing on the tradition to these guys, and they're listening, they're paying attention, and they can't wait. They're very anxious to do it.
And just a few facts about the game. The rivalry, the series started in 1983, back when Mr. Don Reynolds, who we've spoken with already, was the principal. Of course, now his daughter, Dr. Mickey Reynolds, is the principal now. This will be the 36th Lake Brantley versus Lake Mary game. Brantley's won 23 times, Lake Mary 12 times. Lake Mary's won the last 2 meetings, and of course, including that very exciting game last year, 36-29. And Luther, I'll go back to you, and where do we go from here?
Yeah, I hate to bring up some of the dark years, but in 2004, Lake Brantley started a 9-game winning streak against us. I'm really curious, what kind of turned that tide? What was it that convinced the players that they could actually go out and beat a dominant team and now be very competitive and make these rivalry matches very, very exciting?
Well, you look at it from a distance and you see the 9 years in a row, and it's hard to remember, but you have to remind the guys, and you remind the players, and you remind the coaches that it's not a collection of years. Every game is different, every play is different. We have a whole new group of guys every single year. So it's not one thing or the other. It's just finally coming together as a team and working as hard as we can. And we've had several of those games we very easily could have won, but it wasn't until 2013 when we had our first undefeated season that those guys said enough's enough.
That's great. Lots of tradition. How about we talk to some of the fellas?
Let's do it. Let's talk to some of the fellas, and then after we talk to some of the fellas, I'd love to hear from some of our crowd here too.
Okay. I'm actually going to start with number 11, Soraya. Hey, on Friday nights I'm up there in the booth, and I get to announce the touchdowns. I want to know how many times Friday night I'm going to be able to go, touchdown Lake Mary, number 11, Soraya Abrams.
I'm just happy you got my name right now. I'm gonna say a lot.
player-in-chief, telling you guys, hey, this is what the game's like when I was a player, when I'm a teacher, and now as a coach. What is it like being a player, talking about this game? What is it trying to get you guys focused on this week?
It's great because he gives us first-hand experience on what he went through when he played against Lake Brantley, and I feel as if we have a well coach carrying us, you know.
Hey, let's go, Megan. Let's go. Let's go, Megan.
And who else are you with here tonight?
With my brother Matthew Woolwall.
Matthew, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the excitement at school throughout the week?
Yeah, they've been talking a lot of mess this week, so we've been staying quiet, waiting until Friday. But just hearing that stat that we've only had 12 wins and they've had 23, that just, I think that put a chip on our shoulder a little bit. Start a new tradition, we get on a winning streak like that.
Number 40, one of our earlier guests said we're talking about the rivalry and the various aspects, and they finished up by saying we just really want to beat Lake Brantley. What is it about Lake Brantley that makes you guys just really want to beat them?
It's just the people we know over there and how just they go about things and they out of the lakes. That means a lot. And my mom went to Lake Mary and she tells me the same stuff about Lake Brantley, how she had rivals back then.
So you grew up hating them?
Yeah. Missed it.
Guys, you're listening to Talking Old School. We are with Roger Franklin Williams. We're very pleased to be joining you from the 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary, talking about previewing one of the great high school football rivalries in the country, the battle for the Mayor's Cup between the Lake Mary Rams and the Lake Brantley Patriots. Here with Luther Davis, voice of the Rams, and Coach Perry, football coach, some players, and Coach Doug Peters.
Graylin, I see you standing here. You're linebacker, are you not? Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Friday night. What's your mental preparation? How are you trying to figure out how you're going to hit harder on Friday night than you have throughout the season so far?
When it goes to Friday, might sound brutal, I just think about killing you.
That's literally a great little
Doing
spot.
as much
I noticed since I was 5, dude. It's literally a great little spot.
Like, they've been talking a lot. I'm not gonna lie. It's like,
Has there been some trash talking?
there's been a lot of trash talk.
Okay. We're not going to repeat any of that here.
It'll be our secret. What position do you play?
Like, outside linebacker.
He's in a position to do some damage.
Cole, it's fantastic watching some of your, I'll call them juking moves. Up in the press box, you get the ball, you have the ability to slide some of those defenders and everything. It's fun to watch. What are you thinking about some of these big potential plays that you're going to be involved with on the Friday?
Well, I'm the complete opposite of Graylin. I'm not going out there to kill anybody. I'm going out there to run away from people and score touchdowns.
I'll give you guys another heads up. Friday night. Touchdown, Lake Mary. Number 1, Cole.
Coach, we want to hear from some of our people here, some of your fans, boosters, students.
Anybody that has a question, they might want to ask Coach Perry or one of his players. We'll open up the mics. No? We got a bunch of shy people here. I hope you're not shy Friday night.
That's right.
Whenever you're ready, here's a friend of mine that's here also. It was administrator of Lake Mary High School. Brett Tomrose is here. I want to give him a round of applause. He was Mr. Lake Mary during those years. Sadly, he went across the county lines to Lake Brantley, but he's a great guy. He was a Lake Mary Ram. Let's give Brett Tomrose a round of applause.
Hopefully he's not doing any scouting tonight.
He's still got Ram blood in him.
That's right.
You guys are listening to Talking Old School with Roger Franklin Williams. We're coming to you live. We're coming to you from the 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary as we preview one of the great high school football rivalries in the country, the Lake Mary Rams versus the Lake Brantley Patriots. Our program is sponsored by 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary and Rob Stevenson and IOA Insurance.
Before we cut to break, we got about 30 seconds, I think, and I'd just like to throw the floor to Coach Perry one more time. Just some final words for this segment about preparing the players and getting them ready for Friday night.
Well, we know that it has to be a well-disciplined defense facing that offense. Their offense is trained to break you down and find an undisciplined player. And we've been working that for a bye week as well as this week. and these guys are going to be ready to go. It's going to be a smash-mouth football game for 4 quarters, play after play, offense, defense, and special teams. They're fighting as hard as they can, and we're going to be fighting as hard as we can.
Thank you, Coach Perry. Before we go to break, once again, I'll remind you that our program tonight on Talking Old School is presented by our co-sponsor, 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary, and by Rob Stevenson and IOA Insurance. Are you paying too much on your company's health insurance? Call Rob Stevenson to save 20% or more on your company's health insurance. Call him at 407-925-0932. We're going to be right back. We're talking old school from the 4th Street Bar and Grill at the Battle for the Mayor's Cup football preview. Friday night at Lake Mary. We are hearing from coaches, players, students, cheerleaders, and others on our program tonight. And I'm glad that you're joining us. Before we go back to Coach Doug Peters and to Luther Davis, the voice of the Rams, I want to recognize our sponsors, especially here at 4th Street Bar and Grill. Michelle Tombros, the manager, and Zach Ramsa, assistant manager, and of course owner Mike Good, who's got his own legacy in sports in Seminole County and football specifically. Also, we're going to give a shout out to our friend Dan LaFlores, now with the Seminole County Touchdown Club.
Look at the TV, right?
Joins us,
What
and of course he
the
announces the winners.
contrast is
Touchdown Club Offensive Player of the Week, and you'll be doing that on Talking Old School throughout the season. Before we go back to Luther Davis, voice of the Rams, and Coach Doug Peters, I want to let you know that Rob Stevenson and Iowa Insurance are sponsoring our program tonight. Are you paying too much on your company's health insurance? Call Rob Stevenson to save 20% or more on your company's health insurance. Call him at 407-925-0932. That's 407-925-0932. Now let's go back to Luther Davis, voice of the Rams. And you know, you've been pretty much talking football with us tonight, but your day job is a physics teacher at Lake Mary High School. And I understand we're going to have a little physics lesson here tonight.
Yeah. So for several years now, we've been doing a football physics at our home football games. It's, you know, the football field is actually a classroom with student athletes. So what I'd like everyone to do out there right now is give a high five to your neighbor.
That's the mayor. Nice.
That's what I'm talking about. Newton's third law says
That's
that
the mayor.
you high five your neighbor, regardless of the size of your body or hand, that force was the same. The same thing actually happens on the football field. When a large ball carrier hits a small defender, or vice versa, when they hit, that force is the same. That's called Newton's third law. However, the effects are much different. On the smaller player, they feel that force much more dramatically than the larger player. That's what we call football physics and Newton's third law. So Friday night, what I want you guys to do is watch for those collisions. Those collisions, they feel the same forces, but you'll see the effect on the smaller player much more. Ladies and gentlemen, another edition of Football Physics. What do you think of that?
That was pretty good. I'm ready for another lesson. See why they're so engaged. And speaking of which, our guest tonight, in a moment, will be also joined by the president of Lake Mary Athletic Booster Club, Mr. Ed Shuckman, who's also a former Lake Mary student and athlete, a former Lake Mary wrestler. And we're very pleased and honored that the mayor of Lake Mary is here tonight. Of course, they don't call it the Mayor's Cup for nothing. Well, Lake Mary, Mayor David Mueller is here representing and supporting the Rams. Thank you, David Mueller, for being here.
I didn't know you wrestled, brother, from.
And Coach Peters, go ahead and introduce Ed Buckman. I mean, you and him have a special relationship. You wrestled with Chuck, but he was one of your players back in the wrestlers back in
Ed
the
wrestled for me back 1912, I think it was. The results of that joke a couple of times, but he goes way back, and it's really what Dr. Reynolds talked about, alumni coming back and making kind of making a second or third generation at Lake Mary High School. That's what makes it so special in our community. Ed's done a great job, and he's come in and has immense energy and is really doing great things for our booster club. I'd like to give a shout out to a lot of his booster board that's here. Booster board, let's give them a round of applause, and all our booster members. And I just want to thank, we have 84 corporate sponsors at Lake Mary High School. I think that's the largest for sure of anyone in the entire state. So thank you to our corporate sponsors. Ed, welcome to Lake Mary High School, and the Booster Club president, thank you so much for everything that you do for Lake Mary.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Yeah, let me say, it's an observation. Yeah, it's actually really mind-boggling to see all the support and the number of boosters that Lake Mary High School has. Of course, you know, I'm talking old school, we cover virtually every high school in Central Florida.
I'm gonna try.
So we kind of have some insight that it's a commend you, first of all, Coach Peters, for your leadership, and you especially, Ed, for your hard work. And to what do you attribute, in addition to the hard work, just the sheer volume of athletic boosters and supporters that the athletic department has for the Rams, for Rams Nation?
Well, great question. I'll tell you a little bit about what motivates me. I was a student, an athlete, and as we were part of the original foundation for Lake Mary High School, we started all the rivalries, every single one of them. And there was none better than starting the rivalry with Lake Brantley. Lake Brantley had all the facilities, had all the resources, they had everything that Lake Mary wanted to have at the time. And we created a rivalry and angst and hate and respect for them at the same time. And it drove a lot of my passion and want to continue to give back to the schools. We got a little, got a little older. I can tell you that what makes us successful today is every part of Lake Mary High School. From our administrator with Dr. Reynolds, putting the best teachers, administrators that we can possibly have, to our athletic director, Doug Peters, putting the best coaches in every one of our sports. Where the boosters comes in is being able to provide all the resources that every single one of our teams needs. We have over 300 athletes. We have 16 different sports. We have 46 different teams that all have needs. And our Lake Mary High School boosters is there to support them for state expenses, for scholarships, and for other needs that they may have. And that's what drives my passion. We want to give back to this great community that helps support such a great school.
I really appreciate what you do. Ed Sutton, head of the Lake Mary Boosters, former Lake Mary wrestler. And we'll go back to Coach Peters in just a second. We'll hear from Mayor David Mueller. But, Coach, I just got to ask you, can you share just a thought about what does it feel like to have one of your former wrestlers, former players, go out, get established in his career, and to play the role that Ed's playing now for Lake Mary High School?
Yeah, he's doing obviously a great job. Like you said, we support. I know we're having a big pep rally for the football game, but we are just as proud as you can tell when we were introducing our girls championship golf team. We have that same passion. Ed has that for every one of the sports teams that we have at Lake Mary High School. Our booster club supports every one of them in one way or another. So, Ed, I just want to say thank you so much for everything you do, and you're definitely a leader in our community.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Coach Peters, why don't you introduce now the mayor of Lake Mary?
The mayor of Lake Mary and I go, I don't know if we go back as far as you go back, but Dave Mueller.
Was he one of your players?
Well, his son and I had a special connection when he was wrestling, and David was always very supportive of me, and I was of his family and of his son, who's does a great job as a great human being and a great citizen in this fine country. So thank you for his service. But let's give a round of applause for David Mueller. This is David Mueller.
Mayor of Lake Mary. Great to see you again. We knew you back in a past life here, so it's great to reconnect with you.
Roger, one of the great things I had, and back when I was in Tallahassee as a state representative, I used to do your radio show with you. And the one thing that we knew in Tallahassee, they may not have known about Seminole County, but they definitely knew about Lake Mary High School because of the athletic success, the academic success. It is known statewide. But also, we've got the absolute best cheerleading team in all of Central Florida. It's going back to RamNation.
Here's an example of kind of support these guys have from their community, starting with the mayor on down. And students, of course, as you're hearing, are listening to Talking Old School. Roger Franklin Williams, it's great to be with you. Thank you for joining us. We're coming to you from the 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary at the preview of the annual Mayor's Battle 4th Street Bar and Grill, Lake Mary, and by Mr. Rob Stevenson, IRA Insurance. Let's go back to Luther Davis, voice of the Rams.
Yeah, speaking of one of our sponsors, allowing us to come from our stomping grounds at Lake Mary High School and spilling over to the community is 4th Street Bar and Grill. We have Michelle Tomrose here with us. And I want you to hear the mic just for a second because I'm really curious because here's one of our community supporters. You know, as I said, we have spilled over from Lake Mary High School out into the community, and she's hosting this event for us this evening. I'm curious to see what you think about what we got going on at Lake Mary High School.
First of all, I want to thank all you guys for coming out tonight. We appreciate this, the community. I think this is how we all come together and support each other. And as a former Lake Mary graduate, go Rams this weekend!
Michelle, for your support of our program and having us out here. What a perfect venue, what a perfect place to have a big Mayor's Cup pep rally for the Battle of the Lakes, or just to come out and hang out and have a great evening.
And ladies and gentlemen,
I'm sure this is a great place to celebrate Rams victory.
oh, of course. Yeah, come on out after Friday night's game, and when we're bringing home that Mayor's Cup, which we're actually going to have a little special recognition for that in just a moment, but seated to my right, I see Coach Perry's come up. I think he wants to offer some final thoughts for the upcoming game Friday night.
Well, I'm always looking for an edge, and with this one, I need your help. Cheerleaders, band, marionettes, and everybody in attendance. Anytime Brantley has the football, we need to get as loud as we can. When they're trying to call cadence, do a lot of audibles in the line, changing the plays. If they can't hear, they'll disrupt their rhythm completely. So help us out as much as you can. Get there early. Get on your time.
Coach Scott Perry, head coach of the Lake Mary Rams. We'll go back to Coach Doug in just a second. Before we do, I want to once again thank our sponsors, 4th Street Bar and Grill, of course, owner Mike Good, Michelle Tomrose, manager who we just heard from, and assistant manager Zach Gramza, and Mr. Rob Stevenson of IOA Insurance. Are you paying too much for your company's health insurance? Call Rob Stevenson and save 20% or more on your company's health insurance at 407-925-0932. Now let's get back to Luther Davis and Coach Doug Peters.
Hey guys, there's some major players here, and I'd like to do a bit of a preview of what's going to happen Friday night at the end of this football game. Someone passed me down this trophy. I'm up in the press box. I'm not down on the field, but we have our athletic director, Doug Peters, here. We got our principal, Mickey Reynolds. We got our head coach, Scott Perry. We got Lake Mary's mayor, David Wheeler. Roscoe, come on up too. Of course, we need Roscoe, our Ram. Hey, football players, why don't you come and get on this action too? Come on back. I see you guys there in the corner. Thanks for coming out tonight. We need some cheerleaders up here too. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a preview for the Mayor's Cup presentation. It's going to be a great honor of mine Friday night after the big win. From the press box, actually announcing the award-winning team, that's your Lake Mary High School Rams, as they get the Mayor's Cup. What do you think about this? This is
Pretty awesome. This is an impressive bunch of Rams, that's for sure. Yeah, we got cheerleaders, we got football players, we got the principal, we got the original principal, we got the mayor. Lake Mary has definitely turned out to represent and support their Rams tonight.
Okay, cheerleaders, frontline, marionettes, this is close to the end of the broadcast. Why don't you go ahead and do a couple cheers and get some cadence going, because here's our awards presentation, the Mayor's Cup preview.
I said it's great to be a Lake Mary Ram. I said it's great to be a Lake Mary Ram. I said it's great to be a Lake Mary Ram. I said it's great to be a Lake Mary Ram. I said it's great to be a Lake Mary Ram. I said it's great.
Let's go back to Coach Doug Peters to wrap things up. Guys, you've been listening to Talking Old School. We've been coming to you from the 4th Street Bar and Grill in Lake Mary as we preview the battle for the Mayor's Cup, the Battle of the Lakes, Lake Mary versus Lake Brantley. Thanks for joining us tonight, and special thanks to everybody for coming out. What a great bunch of Rams.
Thank you, Roger Williams, for coming out. How about we have a little battle
4th Street, David and Ron Stevenson, our corporate sponsors.
This is very, very tangled, but not really messy.